Welcome, good evening, and welcome to everybody that's here in Ma'amlo Ez Shul Ramat Bet Shemesh. Welcome to everybody who is with us on Torah Anytime. Baruch Hashem, very pleased to see that Baruch Hashem, so many people are with us, and hopefully the impact is there. We are in the fourth chapter in the series about from ruins to redemption. We are learning about the 9 days. We're learning the Gemara in Maseches Gittin. And before we continue to the next piece of Gemara in Gittin Daf Nun Vav Amud Aleph, I still owe you a piece of information from yesterday's shir. Yesterday we've learned, and I just want to remind everybody that all my shiurim are Le'ilu Nishmas, my dear father Menachem Ben Akiva, and hopefully that should be the last time we have to say that this shir is for the release of the hostages, because they'll be out by tomorrow with the full Geula. So basically, yesterday we got to some kind of a very dramatic point in the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, of the destruction. The victim turned into the attacker, and that was Bar Kamsa. Bar Kamsa was the man who actually went and snitched, and he actually badmouthed the Jews. He lied about the Jews. They were not rebellious against the Romans, and he told the Roman king that the Bnei Israel are rebellious, that there's a rebellion going on. In order to prove his point, he asked the Caesar, the king, whatever that was, to send a korban, send a sacrifice to Beis Hamikdash, an offering, and it was in the shape of a cow, a calf, and he created a blemish. That Jew created a little blemish, little but not little enough, a kind of blemish that it was either in the mouth or the eye of the animal. Once a blemish as small as that, a little cut in the lip or a cut in the eye, they disqualify a korban brought in Beis Hamikdash. And without going into much details now, we're just summarizing now, because of those blemishes, the Kohanim didn't know what to do. We're not allowed to bring a korban with such blemish in Beis Hamikdash. It is kosher for goyim outside Beis Hamikdash, but not in Beis Hamikdash for anybody, Jewish or not. And therefore, there was a huge diplomatic crisis that proved, the point right. Look, the Jews are not bringing your korban. And because of that, the Romans decided to really do away with those, mechutz of dike Yidden, and that's it. And then the next piece we're going to see today is how they came to attack Yerushalayim. Now, the question we left open yesterday was, and as Maharal is our friend, he's our tour guide through this journey through the streets of Yerushalayim, and Maharal is asking a question. Maharal told us each and every Maimer, anything that Chazal say and everything Chazal say have a meaning. So if that guy, that Bar Kamsa, decided to create a blemish in the mouth or the eye, there is a reason for that. And there's a reason the Gemara mentions that. Basically, says the Maharal as follows. Basically like that. As we said, for Goyim, in the Bamois, in places outside Beis Hamikdash, for God to bring a korban, as long as the animal is physically intact, as long as it has the limbs, feet, whatever, we call it hands in halacha. I mean, the hind and the front legs are there, the head. It looks more or less shalom, intact, wholesome, it's fine. But for us, Yidden, the standard, or for anybody in Beis Hamikdash, the standard is much higher, and even a small blemish makes a difference. Why? Says Maharal, Goyim misyachsim laguf, while Yehudim misyachsim l'ma shenivdal me'aguf, which means, for Goyim, the idea of Goyim normally, even in the best form possible, the ideal situation, Goyim relate more to the body. They're supposed to function physically in this world. That's why a Goy who's Shavas, a Goy that creates a sabbatical day, is Chayv Misa. Goyim are supposed to function 7 days a week. According to some opinions in the Sanhedrin, Nun Ches, Nun Tes, it's about working every day. A Goy is supposed to be a working person, while a Jew is supposed to aspire spiritually. For us, Yidden, we are me'ever laguf, we're beyond the physicality. And therefore, for a Goy who brings the korban, as long as the korban has its body intact, that's all you need. You need your body represented through the korban, because that's who you are. Of course, Goyim can try and reach spirituality. It does say it in other places, but the main idea is the physical side. For us, Jews, the idea is what? The idea is to be beyond the physical, and therefore, even things that are much more sublime, things that are much more, much more nuanced, are also a problem. Why dafka, specifically the eye or the lip? I want to ask you a question. Yeah, let's play a little game. Yeah, to get everyone into action. I'll say one word, one froom expression. Yeah, I say the first word, and you have to complement. Yeah, complete the sentence. Shmiras. Shmiras Einayim Loshen. No, I'm looking at the body. Thank you for being smart. I was looking at body parts, and I was very, very happy that the two responses that came, Shmiras Saloshan and Shmiras Einayim. Exactly. I never heard of anybody talking about Shmiras Hayodayim. The Shmiras Negia is an action. Talking about the actual limb, the body parts, there's Shmiras Einayim and Shmiras Haloshan. There's a reason for that. Says the Maharal, before we get to the practical nitty-gritty, says the Maharal, the things that are physical but are beyond physical, that are nivdal mehaguf, are the eyes, the vision, and the speech. He does not actually explain why. But I saw the Maral in different places. Well, speech is quite clear because we all know that with speech you can create things way, way, way beyond the physical, right? You can kill a person emotionally and physically, right? You command someone, go kill someone if you're the emperor of North Korea, right? Or yeah, sorry, yeah, excuse the example. Yeah. In other words, when you say something goes way, way, way beyond, with one fiery speech, you have the Chafetz Chaim changing the entire world, or just the opposite, Chas v'Shalom Hitler changing the entire world. You can't do it with your hands. Yeah, whatever. It's not the same thing. The hands are physical, the feet are physical, the heart is physical, as important as it is. The speech goes way beyond. The speech is very spiritual. Ruach memalalo. Our neshama is directly connected to our speech. What about the eyes? Says the Maharal in a different place, an eye is such a small organ, it can see the entire sky together, all the heavens, not the spiritual heavens, but you see the sun. The sun is so far, so billions of kilometers away from us, and we can see the sun with our eyes. Can't reach it with your sense of smell or anything else. Yeah, what about hearing? You can hear from very far, that's true. But the Ibn Ezra says when it comes to hearing, you can't hear two things together. You can see many things together, right? You can see a lot of things together. You can go to the museum and look at, 5 pictures in one go. You want to listen to Beethoven or Mozart, it's always one note after the other. Sure. Listening is one, yeah. One picture, right? Yeah, but that's still one sound after the other. They're very harmonic together, but da 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 da. It's all one after the other. So the speech and the vision are extremely spiritual and beyond physicality, and this is when we are potentially more superior than Goyim. We spoke about superiority over Goyim, how it can be very good, and how it can be, when it's abused, how it can be very bad. And that's what happened in the times of the Churban. Let me explain something. We all know that we have to work, and a person must work on the Shmir Senaim, Shmir Saloshan. This is lifetime work. Very nice idea from the Berdicheva. The Berdichev, Lev Yitzchak Berdichev, besides being, the big Sanegor, he said a very nice idea, so it brought down in many Sforim. Yeah, the order of letters in Hebrew is Ayin, Pei, Tzadi. Ayin means the letter Ayin, and also literal means Ayin, the eye. Pe is what? Mouth, and also the letter Pei. Tzadik is the letter Tzadik and the word Tzadik. The one before Ayin Pei Tzadik is Samech. Says the Rebbe Yitzchak Berditchev, Samech is Lisgo. Samech is a closed letter. It's the only letter in Hebrew besides Mem Soifis, which is Soifis. Out of the normal letters, the only letter that's closed is the Samech, right? Because when you want to close, you want to become a Tzadik, you have to close your eyes when you have to. Soger, you have to close your ayin, your peh, your mouth. Close your mouth from Lashon Hara. Close your eyes from looking what you shouldn't be looking, and then you'll be a tzaddik. What about Of HaShemayim Yoliches HaKoil? Of HaShemayim Yolichet HaKoil literally means, it says in the Ksuvim, Shlomo HaMelech said, Of HaShemayim, the bird of the sky, will carry the voice. Literally means that, you don't know where your words are going to end up. That's what the Gemara says in Bava Basra. Don't talk here because eventually people will hear you somehow. But Yoliches HaKoil, it says in many Sforim, it means tefillah. The things that bring up your yoylech as a call. You want to talk to Hashem and daven and cry. I need success. I need parnasa. I need shalom bayis. I need good children. Yeah, and you praise Hashem. You want something to carry the voice all the way up to Kisa Kovid, all the way to Shamayim. Off ayin v'pei. Make sure your eye and the peh are in the right place. This is always an avodah. That's avodah v'yid. Do goyim appreciate the fact that we are shomer einayim and shomer lashon? I don't know. I do know that I saw a Vayamayin with Rav Rubashkin starring, and he said that's actually about Shmiras Oznaim. He said that when he was in jail, he wouldn't listen, he wouldn't get an MP3 for the Goisha songs. They gave each prisoner an MP3 to listen to the best of American song, all very nice and ruchni, and he refused. Isn't it? I don't know. I guess I'm naive. So then,
You're in jail.
I've never been to jail. Actually, I taught in jail a few times, basically in Israel. So basically, the story he says that there was an Arab leader there, a religious leader of the Arabs, and Rubashkin told him, "I don't get the MP3 because it doesn't settle well with my values." And the Arab was very impressed with that, and he copied Rubashkin, and he also didn't get the MP3. But as opposed to Rubashkin, which for over 7 years never touched MP3, the Arab broke after a few days. He couldn't. But the Arab did appreciate it. What am I trying to show here? Do people appreciate you as a frum person? Depends, I think. If you are sincere and the goyim are a little bit spiritually inclined, they may appreciate, this guy has family values, he doesn't look at other women, only at his wife. Maybe they would appreciate that, possibly, maybe. No, he doesn't speak evil of other people. I believe some goyim would be able to relate to that in a positive way. But what happens if, in the times of the Churban, what happened in the times of the Churban? Our avodas Hashem became avodas us. As we established the Chiddush in this series of Shurim, Sinas Chinam was more than Ben Adam L'Chavero. Sinas Chinam meant that I think that the other person is not Bikoires, and I think I'm the one, me and my group are the ones Oived Hashem, the others are less so, and therefore, if we are it, if we are the world, if we are the one, and the others are not, and become so sectarian, so arrogant about it, and why, if you like, you think Shemir Sanam, Shemir Salosh are important, why don't you appreciate the other type of Chosid, Litvak, Sephardi, American, Israeli, French, whatever? Why don't you appreciate the other guy who's also Shemer Einayim and Shemer Loshen, just like you? Because he dresses differently? That means that you don't really appreciate those values. Yeah? To some point, you're not really there. And then the Goyim say, wait a minute. That was the message of Bar Kamsa to the Roman emperor. He said, look, the Yidden are better than you, and it was not in a way that spreads the light to the Goyim. We are really here with a message of Orla Goyim. We are better people, and we'd like you also to be better, and we're trying to create a better world. I'm Shomer Naim because, imagine yourself two people telling you, either one person is Shomer Naim, I'm Shomer Naim, I'm Shomer Peh, and that's why I am in a nice, graceful, humble way. That's very nice. But if somebody tells you, our group, unsere, we in my yeshiva we are Shomer Nine, indicating that everybody else is not, right? How does that feel? Disgusting and arrogant, right? Do you think the emperor is impressed by that? Obviously not. Obviously not. Because the Yidden projected it to be something superior in a way that wasn't right. Not in the way that it should be. Not in a way that spreads light, in a way that is more egocentric. And that's why it was bad. So that was the story with the lip or the eye. The idea was you should see Caesar. The Yidden are better than you. They have a base of Mikdash and better than you, and it's all about competition. It's a frumkat competition, and we are the winners. And that's what the Jews think about you. And they're right, because at the end of the day, we are more moral in most cases. And therefore, he came to Yerushalayim, he sent someone to Yerushalayim to come and destroy our beautiful Beis Hamikdash because he felt that house is a place where they use for themselves against me. That house is bigger and better than everything else in the world. They have that atom bomb, they have that nuclear weapon Beis Hamikdash, and I don't have a part in it. Instead of me being part of it, they're using it against me. I don't like that, says the Caesar of Rome, and I'm going to destroy Beis Hamikdash. Otherwise, you should destroy it other places, right? The army, the military, the water company, whatever. Why Dafka Beis Hamikdash? That's the reason. He felt threatened by Beis Hamikdash as a source for rebellion. This is how, based on the morale, that's what's going on over here. We are now continuing to the next part of the story. By the way, I'm not analyzing because we can't really concentrate on each and every point here. So there is a very interesting idea here. I'm sure I didn't look into it about Rav Charbin of Kulas and the other Chachomim, right? He's the one who said, don't do anything, right? Don't snitch up, don't kill him, and don't bring the korban. Because there was Charbin of Kulas, they were left in a standstill and they lost the war, and the Romans came. we're not going to discuss that because there's so much more to discuss, and therefore we're going now to the next scenario. And I'm just telling you, I'm not ignoring this on purpose, just that we only have 3 more shurim, including today, and we have a lot more to cover. Says the Gemara, Daf Gitin Nun Vav Amud Aleph. We are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line from the fifth wide line. So what did they do? What did the Romans do as a result? How would they deal with those rebellious Jews? Okay, I'm sorry. So, okay, Shadar Alayu, he sent upon them Leneron Caesar. He sent Nero. Nero, the Caesar, was sent to Eretz Israel to deal with the Eden, to deal with those rebellious people in Yerushalayim. Kikaosi, when Nero came, Shada Gira Lemizrach, he shot a gira, an arrow to the east, also Nafal Yerushalayim, and the arrow fell onto Yerushalayim. Lemarav, he basically again shot an arrow to the west, also Nafal Yerushalayim. Again, the arrow fell in the direction of Yerushalayim. Le'arba ruchos hashamayim, all 4 sides, north, east, west, south, also Nafal Yerushalayim. The arrows, wherever you shot them, they always fell into the direction of Yerushalayim. I'm not even saying anything now. I'm just reading and translating into English, and then I'm going to explain, and then I'm going to delve deep, Be'ezras Hashem. Amar Linuka. Then he saw this is something interesting. The arrows all point to Yerushalayim. Amar Linuka, he told Linuka, baby, they're not relating to the Rov today. Amar Linuka, he told a young child, not a baby, he told a young boy that was around there, Psukli Psukich, tell me your pasuk, which means tell me what you learned today in Cheder. This is a Jewish simon. Interesting. This is Nero the Caesar, and he is telling a Jewish kid, tell me what's the pasuk you learned today in Cheder. Omar Lei. So he told him, "V'nasati es nikmosi be'edom b'yad am Yisrael, v'natati et nikmati be'edom b'yad am Yisrael." I will put my revenge in Edom through the hands of my nation Israel, which means I will take revenge in Edom, and I will do it through the Jewish nation. I'll take revenge from Edom through Israel. Omar, said Nero, he kind of put 2 and 2 together, and he said, Kutshabrichu, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Bai Lechu V'Beisei. He wants to destroy his house. Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to kill 2 birds in 1 stone. He wants to Lechru V'Beisei. Hashem wants to destroy Beis HaMikdash, which by the way was true, because Beis HaMikdash is already a dysfunctional place spiritually. I'm just mentioning something not exactly tangential. The Nefesh HaChaim says Beis HaMikdash itself was already void. Beis HaMikdash was so corrupt and so used the wrong way, it was just a shell. So Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to physically destroy Beis HaMikdash. And he wants to wipe his hands from the dirty job kivyochol of destroying Beis HaMikdash with that man, with Nero. In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to destroy Beis HaMikdash, and that's why the arrows fell towards Yerushalayim. He wants to clean his hands with me, that man meaning myself. He wants me to be his kivyochol, the stuntman, the shliach, the shmata he's gonna wipe his hands with. I don't want that. What did he do? Orak, he ran away from Rome. He ran away from the Malchus. The Ozal, the Igayer, he went and he converted to Judaism. He became a Ger Tzedek, Nero. The Nofak min Rabbi Meir. And from him, eventually, his descendant was no other than the famous Tana, Rabbi Meir. So much to understand here. That's all we're going to read today, most probably. Maybe we'll read more, but now is time for some deep understanding. I read this more many times, and many times I had the same question. Question number 1, that's quite impressive. Nero, not the nicest guy in the world, quite quickly is becoming a Baal Tshuva and a Ger. That's impressive, yeah? All these, even before it became, let's follow him in his journey. He's asking a kid, Psokli Psukha, how did it change so quickly? It was a regular guy, it was the corrupt guy, a Roman ruler, and he's all of a sudden asking a kid, tell me what you learned in Cheder. What's the story exactly? What's going on over here? And another question, more on the cute side, why Dafka Rabbi Meir? If we point out that Rabbi Meir was a descendant, why is there a connection between Nero and the occurrences of this story? Is there a connection between this and Rabbi Meir? That's the other question. Let's go. Says the Maharal, with your permission. Says the Maharal, what was the story with shooting in all four directions? What does that represent? So Goyim, including Nero, before he became a ger, before converted, they believe in Mazel. And the four sides, the four cardinal points, west, east, south, the north, they represent different mazolos. They represent different mazel, like the zodiac signs, they represent all kinds of, celestial powers, spiritual powers that are outside God, in their opinion. And he wanted to make sure he's shooting the arrow towards the east. Oh, that means that the eastern wind, with all the spirituality and all the godly divine powers that it possesses, that spirit is against the Jews. Hey, but I want to cover all grounds. Excuse the pun. I also want to see maybe they have another mazel, another spiritual power that works for them. Yeah, look at the stars. You know Star Wars? Ever heard of Star Wars? I don't know. Yeah, in other words, one star is for you, the other star is against you. So just because one side, let's say east, is against the Jews, maybe the west is for them. I want to cover all grounds. And the same thing happened to north and the south. In a way, he is right. It does say, there's a whole Gemara at the end of second Perek of Basra. I haven't opened in a long time. I remember that it does say there that each and every side of the world represents some kind of spiritual power. One thing I can tell you, Tzofon, it says Tzofon is where all the wealth is. Tzofon is what? Very good. It's two things, wealthy and hidden. Tzafun, what's tzafun in Leila Seder? Tzafun is hidden. Tzfon is Yitzhahara. Tzfoni is Yitzhahara. I'm laughing because whatever, So tzfoni is Yitzhahara because tzfoni is hidden and Yitzhahara is hidden. Why is wealth hidden? Because it says the bracha, the wealth, is only kept b'davar soma min ayin. Only things that are hidden, if it's hidden, then you have the bracha there. Otherwise, no. Doroim is dar, roim is the spiritual side, it's the upper side, rom. Rom is up because Dorim is the right, and right is the superior side, v'chule. Now, so he basically realized that all the mazalos, all four sides, we are circled from all different mazalos. All the mazalos work against the Jewish people, against Yerushalayim. And at that moment, Nero had an aha moment, and he basically experienced, this is my edition. What are we going to do at 10 o'clock? We're going to daven Ma'ariv or Arvit. What did we do this morning? We cover and we say, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The last letter in the most important pasuk in Tefillah is Daled. What are you supposed to think when you say Echad? You're supposed to think that Hashem is the ruler over all four sides of the world, meaning whichever hashpah, any influence, any zodiac, any spiritual side represented by all four, Echad. That's probably what he realized. He realized if all four sides are working together, and that was the exact opposite of the Roman idea of the gods fighting with each other, right? We're talking about Roman mythology. All of a sudden, they're all united. Must be there's one power above them. The same ideas of Rama Avinu with the sun and the moon. He realized, so now let's ask the Cheder Kindle, the Kinderlach, let's ask him, what's the pasuk? Let's research and search. Maybe there's something higher above all four sides that really unites them, the Echad. And the kid told him, bad news. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do what? Is going to punish Edom, will really take revenge of Edom, and wipe his hand through who? Through Am Yisrael. Now Nero connected the dots even more. What could he have said? Nonsense. He could have said, this is a contradiction. I see the Jews are about to lose, right? And that kid is telling me that Edom are about to lose. Maybe it's all nonsense. Let's just forget about all this religious nonsense. Let's just fight Yerushalayim. Well, apparently no. What Nero had the koyach, the spiritual power and intelligence and integrity to connect the dots. He connected everything and he said, wait a second, something happened here. Everyone's against the Jews. So Hashem is against the Jews, and yet the baby is telling me, the kid is telling me that eventually we will suffer because of the Jews. Aha. So at first, I may feel like, number one, I'll be victorious and choshuv, but eventually they'll take revenge against me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will use them. They'll take revenge through me. They'll avenge me. and I'll be like the Shmat of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't want to do that. Not only that, he saw that revelation that Hashem Echad, and he became Jewish. That's unbelievable. Now, why is it that the descendant was Dafka Rabbi Meir? Hmm? I have three reasons. Two reasons I saw inside, and the third reason, I think it's the first time I'm saying a chiddush that's completely mine. I saw a shtickle of one of today's achronim, but answer number one, Rabbi Meir is light. Oh, Rabbi Meir's or. He was zeichet to have a descendant. Rabbi Meir's other name, according to some, is Rabbi Nehoroi. Same thing. Nehoroi in Aramaic is Meir. So I don't know why Rabbi Meir is the one who lights the world more than other Tanoim. Although we should mention already now that Rabbi Meir was a very, very, very important Tana. They're all important, but we know the rule. It starts in Sanhedrin Pevov Amud Beis and throughout Shas. Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Wow. When there's a Mishnah which is anonymous, a Mishnah that does not mention a name, as many Mishnahs are, right? Maybe it's a Stam Mishnah, blah, 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 many Mishnahs, before, starts with Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Tarfon and all these discussions, Choshuv. Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. An anonymous Mishnah, the narrating voice, so to speak, in the background of the Mishnah is always Rabbi Meir. Wow. That's a major Tana. That's not a Tana, that's the Tana, right? He's throughout the whole program, he's with us, Rabbi Meir. Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Yochanan says, Halacha ki Stam Mishnah. Wow. Right? If you have Stam and Machlokes, Halacha is ki Stam Mishnah. Halacha is Paskin, usually Rabbi Meir. Not always, but many times. So Rabbi Meir is a prime Tana. So Rabbi Meir is the light into the world, and the one who decided to leave Beis Hamikdash intact was his ancestor Neron. Why? He decided to leave the light of the world going. Because Beis Hamikdash originally, the original idea of Beis Hamikdash, maybe he saw that there's still hope. The original idea of Beis Hamikdash is what? As we said yesterday, having the windows that way to exude and radiate light from the inside to the outside. Maybe Nero felt, I want to leave that light, that flame going. I want to give it a hope. And maybe because of him, Rabbi Meir is the one who continued his way. The other answer is, and that is a nice idea I saw in Haggadah of Rabbi Yitzchak Yaakov Weinberg. He says, a nice idea stam in general, that it says about Yitzchak Avinu was the one who loved Esav. Why did he love Esav? Yitzchak Avinu, Esav was not exactly your paradigm nachas.
He was a good son.
He was a good son. He had kibud av, which is good. That's what all the mechanchim tell you. You have a kid, I don't know, with Lo Aleinu today, 5 tattoos on his arm and not keeping Shabbos. You have to see the good side, see the good that he or she have. Yeah, it's a lifetime mission. So basically, what's the story here? Yitzchak loved Esav, ki tzayid befiv. What tzayid befiv? In his mouth. Tzayid befiv, because Esav really was the great ancestor of Rabbi Meir. Because the Romans came from Esav. So Yitzchak saw that somewhere down the line, that kid was giving me a hard time. Yeah, you get a phone call from the Rebbe in the Cheder every time, and then the Chula gets even worse. That terrible kid, so to speak, has hope. Eventually, Befiv, he's going to bring the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Tzayid Befiv is going to have the thing in the Peh. Now, Birshuschem, I'll say my idea, Birshus HaKol HaKadosh, yeah, if I may. What's Torah Sheba'al Peh? Rabbi Meir was one of the masters of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Rabbi Kiva was the master of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Rabbi Meir was his disciple, if I'm not mistaken. And Rabbi Meir, right, I think so. Rabbi Meir was one of 5. Rabbi Meir was the one of the major people of Torah Sheba'al Peh. Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Wow, that's grand. What's Torah Sheba'al Peh? In order to learn Torah Sheba'al Peh, you need certain tools and certain, modus operandi to be a good student of Torah Sheba'al Peh. I was Zoiche Baruch Hashem to teach many beginners, be it secular people, beginners, boys who come from high school. And one of the cutest things, one of the funny things, when you teach a beginner, you teach him a Mishnah, and you tell him, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, this is the opinion of Rabbi Meir, right? You just learned the Mishnah, you barely finish a sentence, and then the kid tells you, I side with Rabbi Yehuda. Which is really, really cute, because anybody who knows anything about Gemara knows this is just a Mishnah. And there are about 5 ways to explain each one in the Gemara. And then there's Rishonim, and then there's Achronim, and then there's another twist, and then there's your own Chiddush. So how can you side with one opinion, before you even begin to know what it is? I mean, it's cute, because they're beginners, because in order to learn Torah Sheba'al Peh properly, you have to delve deep. You have to go deep. Even Bekiyas of the Gemara, relative to other Chochmas, is deep, right? So that's also an interesting thing. Gemara is about back and forth and depth. Gemara is also about not being a Talmud student from Harvard or Yale. Gemara is about applying that which is Torah Shebechtav. Torah Shebechtav is raw material. Torah Shebechtav is telling me you have to shecht an animal. Duh. Maybe means to hit it on the head with an electric shock. What do you mean to shecht an animal? Only Torah Sheba'al Peh is a process that tell us how to actually apply it lamaisa. Torah Sheba'al Peh is the connecting point between the very, very esoteric Chumash to Halacha lamaisa 2025. And it comes with practical applications. Nero, surprisingly, had all these good qualities were proven to be his qualities in this story. Basically, what did Nero do? He actually realized there's a Kodesh Baruch Hu, right? He looked in depth. First of all, you know what? Even when he starts with the Goyish way, we're going to see soon that Aspasianus, his successor, just came to Yerushalayim and destroyed it. The mere fact that Nero actually, even in the Goyish form, started this whole arrow test showed that it was a thinking person. He wasn't superficial. He was preparing himself well for war in the spiritual side. He wasn't just looking, he was just looking in the maps and looking at the, strategic points and all the strategy, military-wise. He was looking the spiritual side to see, can I win or not? And it was a hard job. He had to go to the east, to the west, to the south. He really did his job. And then he came to a more inner, deeper conclusion. Oh, there's a superpower here. And then he spoke to the child. And then instead of saying, it's a contradiction. Yeah, the Talmud is full of contradictions. Yes, it is, but you have to figure them out. Yeah. In other words, he saw, okay, this is the arrow, this is the kid. Let's put it all together like a person learning a sugya. He was a great guy for learning Torah Sheba'al Peh. And then he actually applied it lamaisa. He didn't close the Gemara and said, okay, now I'm going to just do my own thing. He was a deep learner from beginning to end, connecting the dots and applying it. Wow! Looks like Nero was Mr. Torah Sheba'al Peh. And maybe, that's my own word, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But, and Bes Medrash B'lo Chidush. And therefore, Rabbi Meir, the one who lit the world with Torah Sheba'al Peh, that was his descendant. That was a Sachar. I will say something which is very, very out of character for me, because I usually don't tread, into terrain that's not mine. And I'm a yeshivish guy, kind of, even though I'm from Tel Aviv and I'm still yeshivish. So basically, I usually don't go to these questions of, the way we view history versus the way that Goyim view history. Yeah, but, some people have questions about it. And here we're learning the Nero the Caesar, basically, Nero the emperor, he converted to Judaism. He ran away from Rome. He converted to Yiddishkeit, and he ended his life as a Jew. And he was the forefather of Rabbi Meir. I'm sure that you learned in high school, if you remember, or university or wherever, what was the end of the life of Nero? He committed suicide. That's what the Goyim believe. He went to a house outside Rome. He committed suicide. He blurted out some famous words. And that's what they teach kids in school. And in Gemara, we see otherwise. Needless to say, I believe Chazal more than the Goyim. But then I looked into it a little bit today. I was a little bit naughty. And I went and I have a new friend, AI. AI and I are good friends now. By now, he knows everything about me. So I consulted with the AI and some websites and went rather deep into it. Apparently, the amount of people who saw the suicide of Nero were either 2, maximum 4 people. Only 2 people. In other words, his servant was there and his other servant was there. That's it. He did it all on his own. You calling that a historical fact? It's a joke. You can't, yeah. People doubt something, chas v'sholom, that was witnessed by 600,000 people. They say it didn't happen. So something that happened in the presence of 2 or 4 people at best. And he showed me the different people. Yeah, at best. You call it a historical fact? I can tell you that today I flew a spaceship. You know who saw me, myself, and my wife, Markesha. Yeah, it's not a historical fact. No way. So it's just an interesting point. But whenever we see a steer between what the Goyim say and Chazal say, I vote for Chazal, and sometimes what you're taught in high school, even in the second, and then you told me, the Maskana, he told me that there are many historians who actually doubt that fact. Many historians, Goyish historians, doubt the fact that he committed suicide. There are many other theories. Baruch Hashem, we have the truth. We don't have to go anywhere else. So basically, that's the story of Nero, and he lived happily ever after. And oh, surprisingly, we still have some time to continue the next part of the story. And then, okay, so Baruch Hashem, so far so good. Nero came, but managed to, he changed his skin. All very nice. What's the next one? Who's the next in line? The successor? Shodr Laila Aspasianus Kesar. Aspasianus is called, I think, Vespian or something. Vespus, yeah? Vespasian, thank you. So he sent Vespasian, Aspasianus Kesar. He was the one sent to deal with those Israelis, those Jews, who caused trouble. Today's Gaza, then it was Beit HaMikdash. Every time they have issues with us, right? Bekitzer, he sent Aspasianus Kesar. Also, he came and he got to work straight away. Nothing spiritual by Vespasianus. Tsar alotlas shoni. He created the siege around Yerushalayim for 3 years. The number 3 is going to appear a few times in the story for a reason. 3 years was a siege around Yerushalayim, and what happened then? Havuba hanut losa tiri. There were 3 mega rich people in Yerushalayim, and they were Nakdimon ben Gurion, Ben Kalba Savua, that's the second one, and the third one, Ben Tzitzis Akeses. And each one had a different name for a reason. The Gemara is going to explain why each one had his unique name. It wasn't stam name, it was a kind of alias that was given to them for a reason. Nakdima ben Gurion, by the way, I think what's going to happen now is today I'm going to read the Gemara. Tomorrow I'm going to Hashem, we're going to explain and go in depth, okay? So concentrate now in the Gemara, and tomorrow will be the Pshat. Okay, Nakdimon ben Gurion, sorry, Shenok Dolocham Ba'avuro. There's a story in Gemara in Tainis, I won't go now into the details. There was once a nace. Nakdimon ben Gurion, he made a bet with a Roman person, and because of Nakdimon ben Gurion, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created a matzav that the sun overstayed its time in the sky. The day became longer for Nakdimon ben Gurion. The Nakda, the sun kilu, perforated through the clouds. So there was a nace. It's important to know the Nakdimon ben Gurion is such a darga. He basically supported a lot of people in Shalim, and Hashem created the nace for Nakdimon ben Gurion. Second, Ben Kalba Savua. By the way, who's Kalba Savua? Very, very famous father-in-law of Rabbi Akiva. Shekol nichnas lebesuk shoroev kakelev yotzek shu savea Kalba Savua. The satisfied dog. Sorry, sounds like a name of a bar in England. No, the satisfied dog. The Humpy Dumpy dog. So lahavdil elfaf avdolos. Basically. Anybody who came into his house as hungry as a dog, the Gemara at the end of Shabbos says dogs are always hungry, would leave his house satisfied. And tremendous, amazing Baal Tzedakah, Kalba Savua, was the one who always supported everybody. Third rich guy, it's like the list of Forbes, the third richest guys in the world, What's the third one? Ben Tzitzis Akeses. What Tzitzis Akeses? Shoito Tzitzos Nigreres Al Gabe Ksosos, which means his tzitzis, his talis, like a nice long robe, would always be draped. Whenever he walked, it would always be draped and kind of would be floating over ksosos. He didn't walk on the floor. He walked on nice pillows. In other words, his nice garments would always, like a kala walking with a thing behind. So he would walk with that and would always float over beautiful cushions, not regular floor, not even Persian rugs. It was so rich. His house was full of, luxury. The floor was always covered with the beautiful pillows. Ikadamri, or another opinion says, it's called tzitzis akeses. His chair, tzitzis akeses, keses could be a pillow, keses could also mean a chair. His chair was always there. His seat was located with the great people of Rome. He had a very high political position in Rome. He was maybe representing them in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know. He had a nice position, a nice high status in the eyes of the Romans. Okay, these were the 3 rich people. You know what? I'll give you a sweet for the end of the shir, and I will not continue the shir, the text inside. Instead, I'll say something nice. Why did the siege take place 3 years? Because our power is the number 3. 3 is not just a typological number, as they say. 3 is the number of chazaka, of strength. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, It's not by chance there are three people. The Gemara, Shabbos Daf Kuf Mevav Amud Aleph in the top of the page, the Gemara says Avram, Yitzchak, each one was not perfect in a way. They had children like Yishmael and Esav. Yaakov was the third one. Yeah, it's like a Chevel. Yaakov Chevel Nechalosai. Yaakov had proper children that really started Jewish nation 100%. You have the good midas of Ravram, Chesed, the good midah of Yitzchak, Gvura, and the third one connects them all. Yeah, that's one when you have a plate, a braid, it has to have three parts, makes it much stronger. That's it, you have three. The strength of the Jewish nation is number three. Kohanim, Levim, Israelim is three, when we're all united. The Gemara says in Shabbos, Daf Pezayin Peches, and that's the idea. The idea is number three is a strength. So as long as the siege took less than 3 years, we still had power. If he managed year after year to besiege us, that means that after 3 years, we slowly lost the power of three. We lost the power of three. We're going to see why. Because internally, again, they were misbehaving. They were not following the ways of Ram Yitzchak Yaakov, even after the siege, and that's why it took 3 years. And that's why the three rich people, and the Maharal will explain to us what each rich person represents in the story. So tomorrow, Be'ezras Hashem, bring your Gemaras along. We're going to see what happened with the rich people, and we're going to see how Yerushalayim was sadly destroyed. Thank you very much. Atzlacha uvracha, and may we see the rebuilding, not just ruins, the rebuilding very soon. Thank you. Shkoyach. Thank you. Exactly. You have grandfather, father, and grandson learning Torah. They know they will always continue.